Welcome to the I Love Negotiating Podcast, where we aim to equip you with the practical strategies, techniques, tactics, and tools to dramatically improve your negotiation results. My name is Jan Potgieter. Over the past 15 years, I've consulted to and trained many of the world's leading brands in more than 60 countries to help them improve their business negotiation results. I've trained just under 10,000 people face-to-face in a small group format, and I've negotiated on camera one-on-one with almost 4,000 people from most major cultural backgrounds. In this podcast, I want to use my experience to bring perspective to your negotiation challenges. So, hi everyone. Today we're coming to you from Greensboro, North Carolina in the USA. And today's message really targets everyone that would find themselves negotiating within a business context. And Marty and I have been talking, we both share an interest in elite levels of performance. And I know, Marty, from your perspective, having been in a Fortune 500 business in an executive leadership role, and having had the opportunity to encounter a significant number of top performers, that you've certainly formed some opinions based on your experience of what constitutes success. I've also seen, obviously, through the interactions with some of our clients and the interactions I've had with top performers, and I know as we talk, we've identified a few things. I know, for instance, that a heightened level of ambition is one of the unifying characteristics. Any top performers, whether it's politics, business, sport, arts, simply stated, people who tend to be successful just want more. They prepare to sacrifice more, get up earlier, work harder, forego more pleasure just to achieve those objectives. And there's some other things, the fact that they're teachable. The strange thing, is that you think most of us who aren't the top performers necessarily would be the ones most in need of coaching, but we're the ones least likely
That's right.
to make use of coaching. And then knowledge, I think people often think that knowledge is power, isn't it? So I just like to hear your thoughts, particularly around this accumulation of knowledge and skills, and how you think that leads us to be successful.
Well, I think one of the most incorrect, famous sayings there is knowledge is power, because knowledge is nothing. That is not power. In order to learn how to do something, in order to truly master something, in my opinion, especially things that you do with your mind, there's 3 different tiers and they all stack up on top of each other. The first one is you and I have to know something is fact. So we look outside and we see a tree, or we look in the kitchen and we see that's an oven. Now, we may not understand what it does, we may not understand its function, but we understand the fact that it is a tree. The next tier is knowledge of that. So we have knowledge of a tree that can provide shade, or it can provide firewood. That oven, we begin to gain knowledge that it can cook things. But then the next tier is wisdom. And wisdom is defined as the use of skillful knowledge. In other words, using what you know. So for the tree, you know that you have to chop it down if you need the firewood, or you know that when it loses its leaves, it's going to grow, so you don't get rid of it. And you know that you can touch a burner all day long as that burner isn't orange, because it's not hot. You have wisdom of that. And the same thing applies in the real world, and the same thing certainly applies in negotiation.
Do you know, it's interesting to hear you say that, because I think often people don't understand, if we talk about negotiation specifically, that probably most of the things that you could learn about negotiation you can find in books.
Yep.
But having simple access to the facts doesn't provide you with any competitive differentiation. You got to figure out a way to apply that to the scenarios that are specific to your life before that's going to be empowering. Is that your view? Is that almost the translation of that knowledge into wisdom when the application?
It's even before that. First, yes, you read the book, you learn the facts. Mm-hmm. Then you try the facts. And as you successfully succeed over time, then you learn knowledge of those facts. Hey, this actually kind of works, and I can use that, and you actually try it. Then when you are in a situation, because you have all this knowledge, and in the real world you come to understand, that's when I use that particular piece of knowledge right now Now you've gained wisdom of that knowledge, the skillful use of that the skillful use of that knowledge, and that's when learning pays off.
Yeah. And that skill really, repetition is the mother of skill, isn't it? We
correct use of repetition.
Sure.
Yeah, to be real specific.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So repetition of the right things.
Yes.
Will translate into the right skills. Of course, you can, as you quite correctly say, you can repeat your mistakes too, and that's not going to deliver the results you want. And that's been one of the fascinating things that I've certainly learned over the last few years, is that I've invested so much time and effort in understanding negotiation specifically, and what I discovered I did is I neglected learning about other things, other best practices involved in running businesses and connecting with people, etc. And I set about fixing that about 2.5 years ago, and it's become a huge priority in my life now to make sure that I'm always invested in continuing my own education, my own learning, that it's never ending. But it's so easy to get complacent, isn't it? Or it's so easy to fall in that trap of just doing what you've always done.
And it's so easy not to try the things that you are trying to learn. For instance, you and I teach that if you don't have, if who makes the first offer, if you don't have relative value, and if you don't know if you have relative power or not, to go ahead and be bold and make an outrageous offer and go ahead and throw it out there, knowing that probably the other person's going to counter and you'll probably have to offer a concession. But it almost sounds foolish to try that. Mm-hmm. So we've given you a fact. Here's what you need to do. But until you try to do that, you don't have knowledge of that fact. And until you do that many times, and then you learn specifically how to do it, and it starts working, now you have the wisdom of that knowledge. And that's where wisdom really comes into play in really helping you become the master of your craft. And I might even say the master of your life.
So if you distill that into one or two key points, it really means what I'm hearing is you got to try stuff. It's not good enough just to know about stuff. You got to try it. You have to apply. You got to try it out. You got to invest in and do it in different scenarios. And if it doesn't work, you got to just keep on doing it.
It's okay. Yeah. It's okay. That's part of it. Yeah. That's okay. The child always has touched the burner when it's orange. Yeah. Because they want to know about it, and they always get burned, even after the parent has told them no. But now they have personal knowledge of it, and they're never going to touch the orange again.
Do you know, this is such a fascinating thing, just as a broad generalization based on the experience that we have, and I know you know this, we've often spoken about it, but the telling difference that you see sometimes when you work with companies where you've designed something for the company specifically in-house, and often you have attendees who are told to be there, that they haven't volunteered themselves to attend, and then you look at the kind of folk who attend our open programs, who often pay for themselves or have self-selected. They want to be there, and you can just see the difference between somebody who's really invested in learning something new and they want to try it out and they want to give it a go, or people who go, well, this is just information that we know anyway, or that we can get a hold of, in a different way. And so, this willingness to try stuff seems to be key, doesn't it?
The willing to try, and then the willing to retry and to retry and retry to master, to gain the wisdom, is what keeps us as adults young. Mm-hmm. It's like the kid that's riding the bike that falls over 1,000,000 times and finally is able to stay on top. For sometimes we as adults do not believe that we should have to learn anything new, including our jobs after we get the degree or after we turn about 25. And if you look around the world, and I'm talking about the world, and you see people that are busy learning new things and trying new things and picking themselves off the floor because they didn't work, you're going to see somebody that is happy. And that is one of the ways of always staying happy, is learning new things, not just as fact, not just as knowledge, but as wisdom.